Today I want to show you an incredible exercise you can use to open up your fretboard, show you how to break out of playing the same old shapes you always play, and have a bunch of fun doing it. Hi, I'm Luke from becomeabassist.com, and if you want to learn some monster bass arpeggios so you can be more comfortable with your fretboard, then you'll love the exercise in this video. This is one of my favorite practice games ever. I actually learned it from an old upright bass teacher of mine named Brett Hurst, but it does work incredibly well for electric, for getting to know your chords and arpeggios, as well as just bare bones knowledge of the fretboard. And speaking of which, if you don't yet know the notes on your fretboard yet, this might be a tiny bit tricky for you since we're trying not to rely on just shapes, but don't worry. I have the perfect resource for you. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Learning Your Bass Fretboard, and it's 100% free. Just click the link below this video, fill out the form on that page, and I'll send it straight to you. Just go through it for a while and then come back to this lesson, and it's going to make a ton more sense for you. Right now though, let's play a game. There's 3 levels to this exercise I want to show you. Level 1 looks like this. All we're going to do is play a single octave of a chord or arpeggio. So let's say we picked G major as our chord, and if you are just starting out, just pick a major or minor chord. We'll get to the more complex ones later. Now the notes in a G major chord are G, B, and D, right? So our first step is finding 1 octave worth of G major. For our low G, there's really only one option. It's this one right here, the 3rd fret at the E string. There aren't any other versions of that note on the bass. Our next note though, the B, we can play that one right here on the 2nd fret of the A string, but we also have this option up here, 7th fret of the E string. So let's keep this one in our back pocket. We can come back to it later. Now our next note is a D, and again we have multiple versions of this note that we can play. We can just play our open D string, but you can also play that D on the A string, 5th fret, or the 10th fret of the E string. 3 places to play that one note. Now this is where things get more interesting, and this is exactly why I suggest you're at least already sort of familiar with your fretboard before doing this exercise. Even just with 3 notes, we have tons of different ways we can play this. We could play it like this with the open D, G, B, D. We could use the D on the A string. We could use the high D. It's not super practical, but it is still an option. We could use the higher D and the higher B and the open D, or we can use the higher B and the higher D. So that's 5 ways of playing these same 3 notes. Now things get really cool when we add the high G and complete the octave, because check this out. Now we have 4 different places we can play that G. The open G, 5th fret on the D string, 10th fret on the A string, or the 15th fret on the E string. Now if we already had 5 ways to play the first 3 notes, now we can multiply that by 4 because we have 4 places to play this G. So now we essentially have 20 different ways to play this really basic chord. That's a lot of options, right? If you were really methodical, you'd go through them one by one, but that's not much of a game now, is it? So where does the game part come in? Well, you're going to try and go up this chord one way and come back in a different way, and repeat that as many times as you can. Yeah, so it might look something like this. Let's start with a simple one. So that's 1 octave. Now it'd come down a different way though. So yeah, so that time open D, high B, low G. Let's go again. Let's start on this G. There's an option, using the open string to get up to that G. Let's do something similar again and use the high G. Just like that. To see how this works, at every stage you're trying to figure out what's coming next and how you're going to get back down to the low root or work your way up to one of the high ones. Just that simple. At this stage there's no rush. You can really take your time and be very precise. You'll notice that some of the combinations and ways of playing it don't really make a ton of sense, and that's okay. You don't actually need to use these when you're playing, but by playing this kind of exercise disguised as a game, you're really getting to know your fretboard and whatever chord type you're using as well. Alright, so that's level 1, a single octave of whatever chord you're working on. Level 2, we're going to extend it to 2 full octaves. This means the number of ways to play the same 7 pitches goes up exponentially. I haven't run the numbers or anything, but you end up with so many different possible combinations, and it's so fun to kind of play your way into these situations and then figure out how to get yourself out of them. So let's give this one a try. If we're looking to add a second octave to our G major chord, that means adding these extra notes, this B, this D, and this high G. But you can also play those exact same notes here, and also up here, oh pardon me, oh. Like I said, this is where it gets really fun. So let's just jump right in and try and play this G chord a bunch of different ways, going up one way, coming back down another way. Let's just try some. Yeah, okay, that works. Let's try another one. Let's go. Not very practical. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's go. Ah, that's nice. You only end up shifting one time using the open string to hide the shift up there. Yeah? If you went through all the different possible combinations of this chord, there would be a bunch that wouldn't make any practical sense. Things like jumping around where it wouldn't really make sense. Things like, let's try. See if I can do this. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, things like that. You'd probably never play something like that in a real song, but just going through a bunch of these and knowing that they're within the realm of possibility is exactly the kind of thing that's going to help you break out of the same old shapes you always play. You might try playing something you already know in a different place on the neck and then realize it's way easier and makes tons more sense. And like I said, if your chord has its root on the A or the D string, then you'll have even more ways to play everything. For example, let's say we had a C minor chord we were working on. You could start down here on the E string. 2 octaves of that would look like this. Pardon me. Yeah, just like that. But we could also start it down here on the A string. You might go, let's see. Have to end up on the A string as well. This means you have the option to start on one string going up, and when you come back down, end up on the other one. Yeah, this can give you a ton of options. You might go something like this. Actually, let's go like this. Yeah, gives you a lot more options. Okay, so level 1 was a single octave, level 2 was 2 octaves. Can you guess what level 3 is going to be? It's the exercise covering your entire fretboard, including going below your low root if that's possible. And let me show you what I mean. Let's say you wanted to work on the D flat major triad. Our first octave might be here. D flat, F, A flat, D flat. Our second octave might be here. D flat, F, A flat, D flat. Yeah, but when we get actually up here, we have more notes in the chord above this root. We actually have this F right here in the chord. Yeah, we're going beyond 2 octaves, right? So let's come down, or let's try and come down a different way. Yeah, but now when we get down to this low root, we actually have notes underneath this D flat that are in the chord, this A flat and this F. So now if we include those, we have this monster arpeggio that covers our entire fretboard, going from our lowest F to our highest F. Yeah, that's 3 octaves, oh, not quite 3 octaves, wait, is it 3 octaves? That's 1, yeah, covering 3 octaves. So it's pretty, it's pretty monstrous. If you have a 5 or a 6 string bass, you can extend this exercise even further, and I definitely recommend doing this exercise if you're switching from a 4 to a 5 or a 6 string. It'll be super helpful. But let's try a few more with this D flat major chord. This will be fun. So let's try starting down here. D flat. D flat, F, A flat. So when we get up here, that's really the only version of that note that we have. This D flat could actually be there as well. Let's try that. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah? I don't know about you, but I find this stuff super, super fun. So that's the 3 levels of this exercise, and they can keep you occupied for literally hours. There's a lot in there. But if you want to kind of get a little bit more fancy, here are a couple of ways to really stretch yourself. Number 1, instead of just going in a straight line from lowest to highest notes, try jumping between notes of the chord. That might sound something like this. Let's pick another chord. Let's say we pick E minor for our chord. So instead of just going up kind of E, G, B, E, E, G, B, instead of doing that, let's go up here. Yeah, instead of going just up in a linear fashion, try jumping around. So you go. Pardon me. There it is. Yeah? It almost kind of sounds like a classical sonata, right? And it's going to push you mentally. Even then I was kind of messing up and like, oh, what chords go where? And you can do this with all the chords you're working through. It's going to push you to think differently, and you really have to know your stuff to do this one. Way number 2 of stretching yourself is to use more complex chord types. So far we've just talked about major and minor triads, but if you want an extra challenge, try 4-note chords like a major 7, minor 7, or a dominant 7 chord. So for example, an A flat major 7 on the way up might sound something like this. You might go, yeah, something like that. And if you want to try something really fun, try augmented triads or fully diminished chords. Both of these, wicked fun. And by the way, if you need help with how these chords are constructed or how they're played, be sure to download my chords cheat sheet pack. You'll get all the crucial information on every chord on a super helpful 1-page cheat sheets. Just click the little card up here or the second link underneath this video. You can get it totally free. If you want to, you could also add a metronome to the mix to try and get yourself thinking faster and faster. Now that could be really cool, but I'd only really recommend that after you've been doing this for at least a little while and are already relatively comfortable with it. To recap though, you learned a really fun exercise that's kind of disguised as a game and that you could use to really master your fretboard, break out of the same old shapes you always play. Level 1 was just playing a single octave of a chord, level 2 spread to 2 octaves, and level 3 was playing it across the entire fretboard. Plus you got a few different ideas to stretch yourself even further. Cheers heaps for hanging out, I really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you in either the fretboard guide or the chords cheat sheet pack, maybe even both, that'd be awesome. I'm Luke from becomeabassist.com and I'll catch you soon.